Welcome back to the Hill of Roses, where we come once again to celebrate the best contributors to our united progressive movement. This week, we're going to be having a series of episodes with some of the different campaigns and their supporters on why they feel that their candidates are some of the best to actually represent women and the issues that are really important to them. It's a perspective that I cannot lend credence to today, so that's why we've brought on some lovely guests to be able to talk about this issue further and give that perspective. So first, I want to give a chance for them to introduce themselves. Today we have on the program Kim. Do you want to just let us know where you're from, what you do, and also how did you get to know Marianne and join her campaign as a supporter?
Okay, yeah. I am from New Jersey. I live in Los Angeles. I am a freelance artist in the toy industry, and I've done that my whole adult life. So I'm very thankful for that career path. I discovered Marianne on a radio station. I was actually on my way to a massage, and I heard her speaking just on the state of the country and what we really need to do to address to heal this country in every aspect, from children to race to politics to economy. And then at the end of it, she said, and that's why I'm running for president. And at this point, I'm almost late for my appointment because I just couldn't stop listening. And when I heard that she was running, I was like, oh my God. So I ran home after my appointment and researched her, donated to the campaign, talked to my mom about her, and she knew who she was from her books and her talks and everything. And the rest is history. I just became an avid, like, rabid supporter because I was like, her voice needs to be heard. And this is the first candidate that I have ever felt this way about.
Yeah,
So
I have to
here we
agree. I have to say a lot of this political environment is getting this infectious enthusiasm. So I can
go.
understand almost the feeling of becoming almost like a religious missionary for all of these candidates. So it's certainly an
Yeah.
infectious feeling, and it's great to be able to talk about it and be able to represent them today. How about you, Mary? Where are you from? What do you do? And what got you to connect with Marianne?
Yes, so I'm also from New Jersey, but I moved out west. I live in Los Angeles today, and I'm an ESL teacher, an English teacher. And I also, I think about in July, June or July, I don't remember where, but much like Kim, I heard Marianne speak, and I'm like, who is this? She sounded familiar, but I wasn't sure where I knew her from. And then I remembered I'm a big Alanis Morissette fan.
Mm.
And I remember back in 2014, she actually supported her run for Congress. And that's when like things started clicking. And the same thing, like everything that she said resonated with me. It's like, man, this is exactly how I feel about the country right now. And this is exactly where I think we need to go. So I researched her and, learned everything that I could. And I was, all right, that's it for me. This is who I'm going to support from now on.
Yeah, no, that's certainly understandable. I think a lot of the people I've heard from, at least from the Marianne camp, have said it's almost like it's touching you in the soul. It's not one thing, it's kind of a whole philosophical approach and talking to like this more personality and character of America and how we can transform that. So it's great to have you on and be able to talk about this issue with you, Mary.
Thank you
Lori,
so much.
how about you? Where are you from? What do you do? And what got you to join Marianne? I'm sure it's kind of similar to Kim and Mary and what really drew you in.
Oh, it's crazy. I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm a special education teacher. I've taught special education for 26 years. I usually teach emotional support children, and I'm very passionate about things with Marianne because of her department. She's going to develop that Department of Children and Youth, and I'm telling you, I see it firsthand, traumatized kids. But anyhow, my journey with Marianne started back in 1993. I was out of college. I moved to the beach, just the Eastern Shore, to teach, and I was kind of lonely, feeling lonely, and kind of trying to find myself. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I ran away from a bad relationships and some bad things back at home. And I was walking through this mini mall, and I saw this book rack out in the middle a little bit, and I saw this purple book, and this face was on it. And I'm like, I was just drawn to it. I'm like, what is this? And here was her book, A Return to Love. So fast forward, then I became a Course in Miracles student because of that book. I read all her books from that beginning book in 1993, clear up to the Love of Politics. but I've read it all through the years, and I became a Course in Miracles student. I've also been a teacher of Course in Miracles, and I follow that very closely. So Marianne's been part of my life since 1993, as a mentor through books, and I watch her on all her podcasts. And I just, like I said, I knew a little bit before she even said it. It was weird that she was probably going to go on this journey, and it's like, I don't know. So I'm just here. I can't believe I'm here, but I'm here to support. I'm honored to be with Mary and Kim and everybody. I'm trying to get some roots going here in Pennsylvania, because I'm in Trump country over here. So I need some help, and I need some really support. I'm one person, but I'm gaining momentum, and we're going to do this big. We're going to do this big. I'm telling you, she's the one.
Oh, no, I understand that momentum feeling. And Lori, it's great to have you on. So
Thank
I
you.
think I understand maybe your perspective on my first question here, but when you guys were saying you joined Marianne's campaign, did you have a previous choice within this election that you liked and then switched to her? Was she the first candidate that really got you energized and wanting to be in this political process? How did Marianne actually become the number one choice for you? So Kim, what did you think on that?
Well, I was open to all the candidates. When I discovered Marianne, it was about a month or so before the first debates. And I was excited. I was like, okay, I'm open to all of these people. Show me what you're bringing to the table. And as it was going on, I was excited about Tulsi. I was a little excited about Elizabeth Warren, just to see what these women are bringing. And, I supported Bernie in 2016. So I was, had not made a complete decision yet. And I had donated to Gillibrand. I had donated to Warren, I just little bits of money here and there, just because I wanted their voices to be heard. I wanted them to have support. After the debate, or during the debate, everything was so surface and just, not really to blame the candidates, because the questions and the whole setup is a certain way. Mm-hmm. And when Marianne just came and cut through it all, and she was like, no, this is not the deep issues that we need to be addressing. From then on, I'm like, okay, the rest of them just pale. They just pale. And they're also mostly part of the problem, honestly. So that was where that solidified my support, was that first debate. And I was like, she is my candidate. The rest, my number two would be Yang. I really love his supporters, and I love his personality and what he's bringing. And then from there, I really don't know. Like, those are the two with the most integrity that I feel in my heart.
Okay, yeah, I think that's certainly understandable, and I think her presence was sorely missed from the last debate. It kind of had a lot of very forgettable moments during it. So I think it's going to be interesting, as we'll kind of get into a little bit later, seeing that she's likely not going to be in this October one as well. But first, before I get into that, Mary, how did you get to this point? Were there other candidates beforehand, or was Marianne the first person who drew you into politics?
Well, so I always followed politics. However, I've never gotten into it. Like, I was like I always looked from afar. I was really, really excited for Obama. That's when I really got into it. And then after, that was such a draining time, with everything. It's like everything he tried, he got blocked. Yeah. And I was just so disillusioned with the whole system. And to me, it just became about the whole system. Like, everything is wrong. The way we're doing these things are not the way it should be done. It's not favorable to democracy. So I was kind of like, just far away. And then when Marianne showed up, and it's like one of those things, like, you wait for this person to, show up, and now she's finally here. So I'm like, oh my God, this is it. It's about being an outsider. I feel like I appreciate her, and I appreciate Yang, because I do feel like we need kind of a disruption pattern to the whole system. And I feel like this new approach is what's going to, bring some bigger changes that we need. So that's the first time that I donated, that I volunteered, and that, I'm here. I joined Twitter for her. I had, turn off all my, so Facebook, I'm rejoining everything, because now I feel like it's worth it. Like there's somebody that's worth fighting for.
Yeah.
Amen, Mary.
I certainly can hear that sentiment. I think both of these kind of candidates that you've been mentioning as like backups, both of them have really drawn in new people for the process to feel energized again. It wasn't usually these insiders that have always been engaged in politics. It's really bringing new people in. And in America, compared to a lot of industrialized countries, we don't get a lot of great voter participation because there's no one that really sparks that fuse. So I'm really glad we have these people who can talk to that. I'm imagining, Lori, yours is a little bit different since you said 1993 you've always known her. So when Marianne announced, was that like you were immediately with the campaign, or did it take some time for you to really get energized for that?
No, like I said, I don't know. I've been doing the Course of Miracles for a long time. I kind of had a feeling somewhere before she actually announced, because it was, I don't know, I was going through the other communities were kind of talking about it a little bit on the other end, down where I am, and so yeah. But anyhow, when I wasn't surprised, and no, there was nobody else but her. I do agree with Mary and with Kim both. I do see a lot of other. I am open to all the other candidates. You know what I mean? Like as far as bringing their views in. But Mary, I'm telling you right now, this is nothing. This is something that we've never seen before. This is something that we've never seen before. This is revolutionary. This is what's coming. This is what we've known is coming. And it's awesome. And it's awesome to be a part of it. And I'm telling you, it is. We have to get people up from, college kids. And I mean, we got to stir this up. So yeah, no, I had my mind was Marianne the whole way. I'm sorry I don't have a shirt on today, but I'm going to go get her book and just hold it up here right in front of me. But anyhow, that's how it is for me.
Yeah, no, I certainly understand it. I think it's been a real cultural awakening, a lot of these candidates, and I think we can see it with so much energy and enthusiasm. There's so much lacking with our current kind of establishment candidates, so it's really nice to have these voices. So I'd kind of want to figure out, how are you guys recommending Marianne handle that she's unfortunately not going to likely be at the October debates? How do you think she needs to adjust? Is there something that you would recommend to the campaign? Kim, what do you think on that one?
Definitely touring more colleges. I honestly think that the DNC is working against her, and with this polling, polling really doesn't represent the people. The majority doesn't. I never felt like polling represented me. I've never been polled, other than online ones that apparently don't qualify with the DNC. So that irks me, but I think it's meant to destroy morale in the campaign, but it's not going to happen. Anybody I interact with in the real world or on social media, I am bringing her message. I am engaging in conversation. We just had a friend over last night, and I asked him what his thoughts were on Marianne, and he's like, well, she doesn't have a chance. And I'm like, well, why? We discussed it a little bit. He's like, because her message is too like love and hippie. And I'm like, well, have you heard her speak outside of the debates? And he's like, no. I'm like, well, there you go. If you hear her speak for more than 5 minutes, and I played a short clip with Russell Brand, and he's like, oh, because he's never heard her speak outside of being pressured to fit like a million words and concepts into 30 seconds and being cut off in the meantime and peripheralized. And so I feel if she just keeps staying on message, getting these media interviews, live streaming, and supporters pushing her message out so that people can hear her, then the voters will decide for themselves. But I think this is what they're looking for. This is what everybody's looking for. If she can just be heard in the right arenas where people can hear her message and her concept of politics, then there'll be no stopping her momentum. And she has doubled her donations to 3 million this quarter, and she's coming up in the polls. So this shows even without the debate, she's still gaining momentum and gaining supporters. And yeah, I don't think that we are discouraged by her not being at the debate. Like, there's no chance of her dropping out, and we are very, very happy about that.
Yeah. No, I think you made several great points there. I think first, it's definitely noteworthy that of all the candidates, she came in second in terms of donation growth in the quarter 3. So that was very impressive, as you had mentioned. I also have to agree with you that the polling structure is kind of been biased against some of these more outsider candidates. We've been seeing of the non-qualifying polls that the qualifying polls, like the DNC approved polls, usually are biased against Andrew Yang, Tulsi Gabbard, as well as Marianne Williamson, and the other ones go the other way. So there's some selection bias here potentially. And then I have to agree the debate structure has not had any opportunities to have real conversation. You're being fit into 45-second sound bites at a time. You really can't flesh out any single one of these policies. And I think Marianne was one of the few of them to say, we could talk about all these policies all day, but we're not having a real conversation. So
Yeah.
I think that's important that she's brought up
Absolutely.
on the stage. How about you, Mary? Do you agree that she just needs to be finding these other venues to get her voice out to help fix her campaign and gain faster growth? Because she's growing, it's just, is she going to grow fast enough to get to that final point in time?
Right. So, of course, I agree with everything that Kim said. To me, it's a true testament of how much she is growing, without being polled and without being in the debates and with all those, smear news articles coming out against her all the time. So it really shows that, on the ground, things are a little bit different. To me, I think she just needs to be a little bit more laser focused on what she really means, what her message is, and I think she's getting better and better each time. People have the people that are already engaged politically, they come from a certain, set of ideas, and I feel like she doesn't fit this mold. And for them to even open the ears to try to it's almost like already they don't even want to hear what she has to say. So she has this limitation. However, I feel like these people are already engaged, and we're going to vote blue no matter who, right? That's the consensus, I think, throughout the party. But the people that are not engaged, the people that are here, that those 90 million of non-voters that we need to get them engaged, I feel like they listen to her. They feel what she's saying. They get what she's trying to say. And I think that those are the people that truly matter. Those are the people that we have to re-engage so that we can get our democracy back. Democracy has been taken right from under our nose from us. So I have this wild idea that I think it's actually to her benefit to not be in the debates. Like, I want these top tier candidates to, eat each other out, and, they're going to get all that dirt on them and get them out of the way so that, everybody else can rise. Tulsi, Yang, the progressives, that's the movement that we need to move towards. So to me, it's all good.
Yeah, no, I certainly hear you that I think the big focus of these outsider candidates has to be taking the people who are already kind of outside the party and bringing them in and becoming voters. So I certainly agree that's a smart strategy. Lori, are there other ideas that you think Marianne needs to be embracing to really help accelerate her campaign even further?
Again, like, just to reiterate on what Kim and both Mary said, I think she needs to go, the college level is a very good level to be. I mean, you got to get these kids. These kids are kind of like in this, they're not really thinking about their future. I mean, they are, but, you got to really, dig in there and have them really care. So I agree with that. The middle of the road people, like Mary was saying, there's these people we have to get engaged. I mean, I hate to say it, but I've always, followed politics. I've always, voted most of the time. This last time I have to say I didn't vote. And I'm honest. I didn't vote. And I was disgusted with myself. But like I said, I think I associate with a lot of these middle of the road people, these people that, are just like, they're there. I mean, just to lift them up is, just a little step, just to, get them aware. Like, our biggest goals here down here are awareness, donation, but then making a meaningful connection with these people so we can talk to them about them. And when they feel your realness and you're right there with them, you're down in the middle and you don't know what's going on, but you're looking at these issues that she's talking about, our children. By God, our children. You know what I'm saying? We got to save these children. So, like I said, if you start to connect with these people and when you engage with certain people, kind of where to go with them and how to kind of, talk with them and how to get to their level, or, whatever you need to do. In this campaign, Marianne has that divine connection that is enabling her to talk on different platforms, like the Breakfast Club, and then going to, Russell Brand and doing all these things. I think she needs to keep being the real person that she is, and like showing, like, she's been down with the suffering, she's been up with the, with people in Beverly Hills. I mean, she can be any, she's everyone. You understand? So we need to know that she can be among everyone. And like I said, that's the platform like I come from. But she just keeps on focusing on those main issues that are going to keep our democracy alive. And I know all of us will support her in any way we possibly can.
Yeah, so I'm hearing it's a lot about like humanizing these people. A lot of the times we feel like we're getting this artificially like manufactured construction of what a lot of our maybe elite powers want to put onto our political scene. We want someone who goes down and actually communicates to people at the level that they're at. So I certainly can hear that message. But now I kind of want to transition to what the subject area of today is. I really wanted to talk about why we feel the candidates you're supporting are the best for women. And I think the best way to start that off is to first say who our opponents are and what they're doing wrong currently. How would you currently grade Donald Trump in terms of his performance for women? I'll start with Kim. What do you think on that? Donald Trump, how's he doing?
Well, he definitely is a product of the rigged system that we've been experiencing for the past, I would say 50 years, probably more. Since I was a child, I saw right through the political system, and I was like, it needs reform. At 12 years old, I'm like, this is, it's not for the people. It's for the corporations. So he ran on that platform that there is something wrong, and it's like the opposite of what Marianne is running on. He's saying, there's something wrong. I can protect you. I'm the one who's going to fix all of this for you. Where she's like, you are the ones that are going to fix this. She's activating. So back to your question. I think he's off the charts. I don't even think I could give him an F if we're doing a traditional grading system. I think he's what's that? Unqualified? No, like when someone drops a class, they don't get a grade, they get a incomplete.
I don't know. I want it on his GPA.
So just the fact that he's normalizing sexual predator, like being a sexual predator and holding the highest office and not being held accountable for the dozens of women that have come forward, the way that he treats their claims and, just tries to smear them and insulting their looks. I mean, the guy is the worst thing for women on this planet because of his power and his history. And I mean, what else can I say? I mean, he's the worst. Yeah. So even more so, we need a woman in there who has women's issues at forefront, which is children, it's peace, it's fixing the corrupt system, which nobody thinks we can do, but it is possible. She is showing us that we have the power. And when we unite and exercise that power, there's a paradigm shift that will happen. And it doesn't have to be violent. It can be very peaceful, and it can be within the democratic framing and structure that's already there. But we're being led to believe that we have no power against that. So that's why I think, and I explained it last night to that friend that was over, like, you're looking at Trump and he is standing for fear and hate. And what is the only thing that can neutralize that? The most core function of the human experience is love. So breaking it down into those simple terms, it's like physics, it's like math, it's like, it can't be any more simple. So it just needs, the more people that can conceptualize this message and this truth, it's going to spread like wildfire. It's already happening. So
Yeah, no, I can understand that kind of like fundamental itch that you really can't squash out darkness with more darkness. You need to be
right.
actually offering something as what the new reality can be. And in the case of Trump, the polar opposite of the fear he's bringing can be that force of love. I'd be
Mm.
curious, Mary, do you kind of echo that the biggest damage that Trump has done has been through his personal behavior? Or is there another reason you would want to grade Trump in terms of his performance for women during his first term here?
Well, Trump is a man that has objectified women throughout his entire life. And it's something that we can see, in history. So to me, this man, I don't even know how to describe it, but I feel like he's almost, to me, he's a puppet. Okay. I think that there are bigger forces driving him, and he's so stupid, and that they're just using him, honestly. But the chaos that is ensuing because of that, and just because of who he is and how he has no filter, to be at that level of power that he is, it's entirely damaging to the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got to go.
Yeah, I certainly can understand that. Lori, do you agree it's really this personal behavior and the example that Trump is leading for the country that has made him the most damaging for women so far in his one term?
Oh my goodness, yes. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. Like Kim and Mary said, I mean, the evidence is right out there. He shows it all. He's like one of the children I teach, emotional support kids. I mean, at first, he's just blurts out everything he thinks and is and I really feel bad, in my heart of hearts for his wife. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, what? I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to hurt her anyway, but I mean, again, I don't see. I mean, I work a part-time job up at a place called Alta, and I get running into a lot of women. And I empower a lot of women there, and I talk about Marianne like nobody's business in there. But also, I'm running into women that just blindly are voting for Trump. Oh, I'm a Republican. I'm going to go for Trump. I said, do you understand what that means? Do you know what and I'm not trying to, I just stand for the truth. I'm not trying to down him or badmouth him. What the truth, the truth is the truth. It's all out there.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
Yes, Mary.
So I think what it is, honestly, it's not Donald Trump that they're voting for. To me, it's money. It's the money that we have. Money has become the new God in the United States, and it dominates our political system. And now it has taught Americans that that's what we have to strive for, to have our economic freedoms and to have our economic power. And all he's about is, here, you can have now more money, be more successful, like me, the billionaire that truly is actually a failed businessman.
Yeah.
So it's all a big charade, and people are falling for it because they want to feel like they have this economic safety.
And let me say, can I add something in there too? Like you were hitting on it earlier, Mary, when Kim was saying about like how they're putting fear, like the fear of oh my gosh, how are we going to beat this man? How are we going to do this? It's like back in the day when the Israelites were going through the wilderness, and and they heard about how big these the Pharisees were, and I mean they're like, it's the same thing because you try to cower back. No, we're not going to cower back. Marianne's not going to cower back. You know what I mean? We're going to go full force, and we're going to fight this. And again, love will overpower this evil. But like Mary said, he's definitely been run by different forces. I mean, he's definitely out there. He's a product of what the society, the sociopathic economic society that has took place, has birthed this person. This person is birthed from this type of thing. And again, I see a lot of angry people around Trump. I mean, if you're supporting someone and you want the betterment for your brother and your sister, wherever they are in the world, why is there so much anger when you're behind Trump? I mean, that's what I'm saying. There it is. It shows you right there what the truth is. And what we can do is We can all go out, talk about this, like on your, here on the podcast, get more platforms to everything, and just show, because the truth is what's gonna. I mean, just like David hit Goliath right between the eyes, where he couldn't see that. I mean, morality is going to get Donald Trump. He doesn't have any morality. You know what I mean? This truth that she's bringing forward is going to be over. It's just going to, like you said, overpower the darkness. It's something bigger than what we are. It's huge, but we have to believe in it. It's about belief with not seeing. Not it's the whole thing that we've been, if you've been raised up in, whether a Christian, whatever religion you may be, doesn't matter. I mean, we're all about goodness and love. We're all coming back to that source of who we are. And so I just say that if people look around and you can see, I mean, I'm teaching children that I'm trying to teach them, the right behavior, and our president is doing exactly what I'm telling them not to do.
Yeah. It's kind of hard
I mean,
to teach them.
This is just absolutely nuts. So we got to look at it from a different point of view, knowing that this is not reality. We're going to get away from this stuff, and we're going to soar to the top, and we're not going to look back. We're not going to be distracted by these people against us. We're not going to be worried about like somebody's bigger and badder than us, because nothing is. Nothing is.
Yeah, I think that's really insightful. I don't think we can allow fear to really corrupt our values and force us into moderating them for the sake of what status quo is in a Trump reality. We have to forge what our own reality is and speak that fundamental truth of common sense to what he is doing, which is just no sense at all. So I would want to first ask you all, do you guys identify as feminists? If not, why would that be? If so, why is that? And is part of that in being a feminist hoping we have a woman as a leader, or is it anyone who will champion those values forward? What do you think on that, Kim? Where does that kind of fall? Are you a feminist? Do we need a woman as a leader to represent feminism?
Well, that's a good question. I don't tend to put myself in any kind of box. Like, I've only registered Democrat because it's a two-party system, but I feel like my core values are more independent, or what's the other one?
Like no party affiliate or third party?
Libertarian.
Yeah. Okay.
Libertarian, but as far as feminism, I respect the feminist movement. I went to the Women's March a few years in a row, feeling that feminine magic and power. I guess I'm more of a humanist. I hate to say feminist because it seems like then you're just focusing on women, but we are stronger with our men counterparts. You know what I mean? And I do feel like women's rights, I support women's rights. And I think that the word feminist, I think, has some bad flavor with it, because it's an extremist stance. Mm-hmm. And extremism is never great, because then you're excluding other people. So I guess in practice, sure, I stand for women's rights, but to label myself a feminist, probably not. Why do I think, we're ready for a female president?
No, it's not that we're ready for it. It's, do you think part of being for women's rights is having that representation? Is that a requirement to feel like you are empowering women's rights?
I definitely feel that a woman in the power of the presidency will have women's rights more in mind than any man. I mean, that's a simple fact. And Marianne, forget it. She's got it all covered. Do I think Warren would be as forward with women's rights as Marianne? No. Do I think that any of the other female candidates? I don't, honestly. I think Marianne is the woman's candidate for women. Anything else, I think they'll acquiesce to the status quo, whereas she's pushing forward women's rights, and it's basically human rights, So
yeah, no, that's certainly understandable. How about you, Mary? Does that fall in a similar line?
I agree very much with Kim. I respect the feminism movement, and it is very much needed, right, in this paternalistic kind of system that we have. However, I wouldn't label myself as a feminist. I feel like sometimes the feminist movement disempowers the woman's role at home and taking care of their children and their family. It's like you have to go out and compete with the man, you know? To me, I think it's obvious that women can do anything that a man can do, sometimes better, but no offense. So to me, it's about human rights, equal pay, it's merit. It's, for me, I'm a merit-based type of person. Like, if you've done the job and you've done it well, then you deserve to get paid whatever the market value is of that product, not anything less than that.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense to me. It really, both of you are getting at, it's not that we want to be exclusionary to these other groups. Yes, there's things that women need to get advanced forward to help them reach that equality point, but by advocating strictly for this label, you're excluding all the other things that need to come along with it. Lori, are you kind of on a same wavelength that you fight for the similar causes of women's rights, but you don't adopt the label, or do you call yourself a feminist?
No, I'm right along with the girls. I don't label myself a feminist. I'm all for women's rights. Definitely, definitely, definitely not. I'm not radical. I'm not radically like excluding anybody. Like I said, I don't want to. Some people have the connotation that if you're a feminist, then you're against men, and I'm not all into that. We're all equal. I'm just glad that women have finally gotten the rights, but we're still fighting. I mean, it's still there. 70 cents to a dollar, or 70 cents, 77 cents to a dollar, whatever it is that we make to men. I mean, and different things. It's still alive, just like a lot of things are alive still. That putting down women in the workplace or holding women down and things like that. But as far as that is, I'm all for women's rights. And like I said, I don't want to label myself in just one category. I'm bigger than that, and I think the whole thing is bigger than that. But we do have to keep in mind that women's rights are so important. I mean, because they were oppressed. That's because they were oppressed. Just like the reparations things, we can get into that another time. But when being oppressed and mistreated and things like that, and definitely we need to rise up, and we're equal. We are equal.
Yeah, I think we can all agree to the principle of equality. We as humans should have that common respect. I think sometimes the problem comes into play of how does equality actually look. It could be, as we're talking equal pay, but then sometimes you're comparing different fields of work. One example that I'd love to discuss with you all as a group is there's a question of whether or not we should be requiring women to be on boards of directors in public companies currently. And so I'd be curious, do you think it should be a requirement that all companies have women on their boards of directors? Is that what equality looks like? Is it saying you're required to have that? Or is there a different definition that you kind of have? What do you think on that, Kim?
That's a good question. I was a little stuck on that because I have been learning about, because we're in California over here, and I think they just passed a law about that.
Yeah.
So I'm a little on the fence with that. I feel like they're forcing the hand is going to include women can be a little that it can breed resentfulness. A lot like the affirmative action of the 80s and 90s. It really created some bad vibes because I think the whole culture needs to shift so that companies are doing it on their own. They're self-regulating the voices in their boards and their companies. Sometimes laws help that, like people are wearing seatbelts now because they were pushed into it with the law. And so I'm standing back on that one. And I like that there's some movement and awareness growing that maybe women's voices are not included where they could or should be. So, I kind of stand neutral on that because I haven't really drawn a conclusion on my stance, but I find it fascinating.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very difficult question to figure out where we land on because there is a problem in terms of representation levels. Women are far and away less represented on boards of directors. However, it gets into the conversation of what can be required. Should we be doing this through like a quota type system where it has to be one? Is it really building that awareness? Mary, where do you kind of fall on this? Should this be a requirement?
Yeah, so it is a difficult topic and issue. Whenever you try to force something, then it's like it comes back to that merit based, right? Are they worthy of that position? I'm sure there are millions of women who are and aren't getting that job. So how we get there maybe should be something temporary, like to get that push and get these women in there to see how positive an impact it will be. And then, slowly scale it back. And like Kim said, let the companies, self-regulate and just, that shift culture, say, no, man, this is something great. Women bring more value, to the company. So let's do this. But in terms of requirements, it's so complicated.
Fine line there, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think we all are trying to strive for this push. And I think one of the things you mentioned is merit is kind of subjective. Someone can say this man is more qualified. Look at all these merits. But you're just saying these criteria are more important, while society may say these fundamental metrics over here are the actual more important ones. So I think there is a fine line, and maybe we need some balancing.
Look at what we're going through with Marianne right now. That's the big debate. A lot of people say that she's not qualified to run for president because her experience is completely different, right? However, is not any less important. And to us, her supporters, her experience is exactly what we feel we need at the Oval Office right now.
Yeah, no, I certainly can agree. It's really such a subjective standard, so it does become tough. Lori, where do you fall on this? Do you think that we should be requiring boards of directors on companies to be having some quantity of women composing it?
Yeah, again, the girls both made wonderful points. Forcing it. I don't know. I just feel that men and women complement each other. They complement each other. Okay, so there's so many facets that men naturally have, and then so many facets that women naturally have that are heightened. Different sides. It's like harmony of the opposites. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I think it should just be. I wish it would just come naturally. Like that there would be a man and a woman, and then you would get that side and this side, and sometimes men have. They change their views, and women see it a different side. Like maybe a man sees a softer side, and a woman says it doesn't have to be stereotypical. But I think the combination together is what will elevate anything. Like just like a relationship between a man and a female, or any kind of relationship, two people have to work at. You come together with So to force it, that's probably going to put that's probably going to be, as soon as someone forces something, a lot of people are automatically, that's it. You know what I mean? So that's going to cause a lot of people to probably go up, just be hesitant. But I don't know. Again, women should be there. There should be a combination.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right that we kind of have to figure out how we can foster better working together, and that these natural parts do complement each other. And I think one of the biggest ways we do that is how we actually develop people through society, whether that be education or taking care of our kids. And I think that's a big theme that Marianne has really pushed on in her campaign, is focusing on childhood development and some of the traumas that they are facing. So I'd be curious to hear from your perspectives, why do you believe childhood development might be instinctively a higher female priority? Do you think it is something that all candidates need to focus on if they want to get the women's vote? Kim, what do you think on that one?
Absolutely, yes. I am a mother of a 5-year-old girl, and I don't want her to think about her being traumatized, even just to do active shooter drills. Her little innocent mind does not need to know that she has to worry about someone walking in her classroom, God forbid, with a gun. This is the kind of trauma that Marianne speaks to. I don't really hear the other candidates speaking on that. Not to mention the poverty rate of children in this country. This is a problem that is being swept under the rug by the establishment for a long time. I mean, when was the last conversation we really had politically about children was like the 90s, like Bush Senior, No Child Left Behind. Was that his, which was a disaster because they're like, okay, we're done now, move on to other issues like war and and
Yeah.
it's like
The literal
that
sweep under the rug. Yeah.
Definitely.
exactly.
Yeah.
And where are we now? We have kids going to school with guns. We have a very unengaged, confused youth in their 20s that, they grew up in the 9/11 traumatization, I mean, that we're forgetting about that. We say, then we have, inner city kids who are hearing gunshots at night and being shot by random bullets. I mean, it's terrifying to think that that is not being talked about. What is being talked about? Healthcare and the economy, and am I going to be taxed more for healthcare? You know what I mean? It's like, well, why are we not talking about the children? And I think a female candidate should be focused on that. I don't hear it much from the other female candidates. They're focused on other things. Where Marianne is making that, I think, her number one, along with getting money out of politics. And that warms my heart as a mother because I want my child to be considered in any policy that this country puts forth.
Yeah, no, I think that's certainly understandable, and it's really speaking to that psyche of America in development that manifests further down the road that we might not see right now. Mary, do you also agree that childhood development needs to be a key pillar of any women's platform? And if so, why do you think this is a more women's issue compared to maybe a general issue?
So I don't think that this should be everyone's issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think kids were boys and girls and we're going to grow up eventually, everyone, right? So I feel that a lot of women candidates, they don't pander to this issue because they don't want to seem like, oh, I'm a woman and this and that. And to me, it's something that you said. I was going to pick up on what you said, and I don't remember now what it was. Oh, it's about people now want fast solutions, fast fixes. They want that tax break, or they want whatever is going to, like I said, it always comes back down to money and the economy. But to me, the biggest and best investment that we can make is in our children. Where are these kids going to be 20 years from now? Kim was talking about 9/11. Look at the deployment that we've had of our military. Look at all these families that are broken apart, separated. Look at the impact that this has on children. I read an article about a month ago. It was a military family, and they were discussing how the father had PTSD. And they're discovering now that there's something called secondary PTS, which is the children and the wife, they also they suffer from that PTSD because they have to deal with it as well. So imagine all this that's, affecting our kids.
Yeah.
So I think that we need a massive, like Marianne says, a massive realignment of, funding and attention brought to these kids so that we may have a future that we wish. Because, man, it's not looking good.
Yeah, I certainly agree. And I think one of the fundamental pillars of this being so important is how intersectional it is. It touches all these different aspects of life. And even in the one example you bring up in war, we're not just talking about kids here. We're also talking about the kids in the illegal wars that we wage as well that have been broken up as well. And how that can foster potentially future national security threats because if you got your whole life shaken up and disturbed because of a foreign actor, of course you're going to be really angry at that. Imagine you lost a parent because of that. How else could you feel? So
what are we breeding at the border with those kids in those detention centers?
That's
those
right.
kids are going to hate us forever.
That's right.
It's terrible.
So it's certainly an intersectional topic of how you really help kids develop. It's not just education. It's everything that goes outside of those schools and happens at the homes. So I'd be curious, Lori, do you agree that, first of all, that this is not just a women's topic, this is more of like an everyone's topic? And secondly, that this needs to be a higher priority for other candidates?
I agree. It's everybody's topic. I can totally agree. Yes, it does. I see things firsthand every day, and I'm not even in the worst place that I could possibly be. You know what I mean? I'm down in the bottom line of working with the children that are traumatized, but the kids are hungry. I mean, they come to school, these kids are passed to foster parents that can't take them. The foster parents take them for money, and then they don't take care of them. And I have a girl right now that's in a place that they don't know where to put her. No one up and down the East Coast will take her because she's been thrown out of every place. But in my school, she survived. But I'm only a teacher. I can only teach her for 6 hours a day. I can't go and provide. They need. Marianne's focusing on conflict resolution. You got to get down to the social skills of the kids, developing them from the time up through kindergarten. Not just that. Yes, academics are very important. Oh my gosh, so important. But so are. I did my master's thesis on emotional intelligence. And I'm telling you, it's IQ and there's EQ. EQ is the type of thing that, hey, sometimes you don't get that much luck when you come into this world. You're born into a situation that it's not very good. So you come into the situation abused, and maybe your parents are addicted, and you're not getting fed in a day, but maybe you have a high IQ, but because that EQ is not there, it's not up there, your likelihood of success is not going to be too good. So we got to go up in the emotional quotient of everything, and that's where Marianne's coming in. She's looking at children from a holistic point approach. Okay, it's not just one thing, and we need it so much. If I can be a person down the front line to say I see it, and I'm traumatized by it. I mean, it's my soul is like she would be too. That's why she has on the forefront the Department of Children and Youth. It has to come, and it will come. But like I said, it's not. I don't think it's just a woman's situation. No way. It's men. Hey, men and women create children. And men, I know there are a lot of good men out there that love their children. And if they want to have a future, we have to take care of our children. It starts from the ground up. And then again, also getting into college, having that burden lifted off of education. You know what kind of energy and what kind of money we can put back into our country if our kids aren't burdened with this strap of trying to survive after college. My God, you know what I mean? Yeah. But we have so much to do, but I'm telling you, it's going to happen. And I hope I answered your question, but yeah, I'm so enthused, but.
Yeah, no, I certainly understand. Kim, do you want to add something?
Yes. Beautiful, Lori.
Thank you.
One thing that's very impressive about Marianne's platform on children, and it wraps around to prosperity, which can maybe tap into the values of the voters now, because they're already trained. Oh, the economy is good, and well, it's an amoral economy because we're not taking care of these children, and the youth coming up have no real feeling of opportunity, and they're being attacked. The millennials and the I generation, and they're just being talked down to. She says, if you want prosperity in 10 to 20 years, invest in the 10-year-olds now. Yeah. Invest in these brains, in these families, in these children, because they are the ones who are going to be running the country when we're old and gray. And, that's a great meeting point for people that may not have kids, or, don't feel the issues as deeply as us mothers do. So I wanted to add that, because she's very strategic in her own support of her policy, and she knows what people are looking for, and they don't want to sacrifice their prosperity to create a Department of Children and Youth or the Department of Peace. They think, how is she going to pay for all this? Well, it's an investment. So I just wanted to add that.
No, I think that's valuable to add, and I have to relate to that as a Yang supporter. We frequently say that the American scorecard is off, that the economy is being judged wrongly. When our kids are not prospering and developing properly, right, that means we're just looking at the wrong things to determine our success. And also the ability to take these issues that aren't frequently actually connected to the economy. It's, a moral issue just for children. It's economically beneficial for us to invest in these kids too. So you can take those people who normally say, you know what, that's not my issue, and you can start actually making it in the framework that becomes their issue. So I think that really is super important. And there was another question that was posed. It was at the Climate Town Hall, and this made me think, in terms of childhood development, one of the first questions we're all asked is whether or not we should even have them. Are we ready for them? Can we actually successfully develop a child? Are we ready for that? And the question was posed at the climate town hall, I believe it was to Bernie Sanders, on whether or not we should be encouraging further development or if we need to be curbing our growth rates as human beings. Do you think that the government should be incentivizing any decreases in growth in population in foreign countries? The basic question was whether or not we should be helping pay for abortion in foreign countries. That was asked at that town hall. How do you guys feel about that? Should we be helping these developing nations secure these women's rights by paying for it? Or is it not our role to incentivize that decision of life for other countries? Kim, I'll come back to you first on that question.
Okay, so that's a big question.
Yeah, it was big to him at the time. He was a little shocked on stage.
Yeah.
I support a woman's right to choose.
Yeah.
And as far as, I mean, in America, absolutely. As far as other countries, developing countries, I also support their right to choose. I know that one of the first things that Trump did when he came in office was canceling all that funding for international family planning. You know, so it's not just, oh, here's some money to, you know, abort so to keep the population down. It's giving birth control, educating women on their bodies and educating them on how to protect themselves from disease, not just pregnancy, you know, because the AIDS is still very, very prevalent in Africa, and they don't believe in birth control, and they don't, you know, they need education. And along with that education, offering an option for contraception or to terminate a pregnancy if that is what the woman wants. I don't think it should be dictated. I don't think that, you know, I think that every woman should have the right to learn how their body works and make a choice for themselves and for this pregnancy that they have maybe found themselves, whether it's rape or, you know, or, you know.
That's for me. Yeah,
it's a very personal, moral decision. But I think it's important for us as leaders in the world to educate and offer options.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So the one thing I'd be curious now, Mary, do you agree that it should be our responsibility as America to try and help foster these women's rights for all these other foreign countries? As we were mentioning, a lot of these African countries that we cut off aid to, they don't particularly want to be providing abortion services or birth control services. Is it our responsibility to help make sure that those are provided for those countries, or should we be respecting their sovereignty?
I think that our responsibility is to set the example. Okay. I think we have a very toxic foreign policy. Okay. I think we need to stop meddling into other people's countries and whatever they do. I think this kind of policy is just like stop having babies. It's an excuse for you not to do what we have to do today, you know, to change our culture into that one of protecting our Mother Earth. So, of course, I think that we should help have humanitarian aid as much as possible. But we have to change our whole, the United States is the world's bully. And that's the truth. Okay, so to me, I feel like, you know, the American people think, you know, we have the good intention. Let's help these countries out. But I think the government is doing something else entirely on the back end. So I think this whole idea has to be really exposed and discussed and thought out. And I think we have to find other ways to help, first leading by example.
Yeah, I think that definitely makes sense. We can't really be dictating to the rest of the world how to behave when we're attacking our own rights to birth control and abortion here at home. We kind of have to get ourselves solidified and unified first. And then, like, furthermore, we got to actually stop making it such an individual problem. Like, you're to blame. It's really, we have had these, like, systemic controls that are not working, that are the majority of the burden that is the blame. So, like, we talked about this a lot in a recent climate change episode that we did, and as I just brought up, this was from a climate town hall. They really want to
Mm-hmm.
focus it in on you and you to blame and you should feel ashamed for your behavior when it's really all these larger, bigger forces that you can't control and now you're trying to fight back against. Lori, how do you feel on that? What is our responsibility to try and help foster these women's rights that we're fighting for here at home abroad? Do you think it's our responsibility to tell these countries how to act and impose penalties if they're not acting as such, or do we have to respect their sovereignty?
I agree with, I think a little bit of both. I think their sovereignty definitely needs to be respected, but I think I agree. I think humanitarian efforts are wonderful, and I think we should. I mean, we should be a model, like Mary said and Kim said, um, a model of what we stand for. We are a country that wants to help out and defend other people, but then do we have the agendas or hidden agendas now? Are we really places we need to be to help people? And as far as women's rights, I think a lot of women in other countries don't have voices. So I think that if we, in different ways, we can empower them in a lot of ways. I think that'll be a good thing. I know Marianne talks about that. I know how some women are treated, that we can empower the women and empower them. But as far as getting involved in dictating anything, or I don't know. I don't think that's the way to go.
Yeah, that's
I
understandable.
think,
Mary, you had something you wanted to add?
yeah, I remembered something that I thought was incredible that the media completely twisted that Marianne said when we were talking about, bringing our troops back home. And she said that we should include women's rights in that negotiation. And then everyone, like, she doesn't want to bring the troops home, blah, blah, blah. But I thought, I was like, wow, how incredible that she is thinking, because the women are the ones that are on the ground, that they actually know what's going on in the daily lives, of the people. So to get their perspective and to see what they think would be best and would help them continue on their own. To me,
That's
that was
it.
amazing, and that showed true leadership, especially for women, that she's taking them into consideration and wanting to see really, like, what can we do to help you guys so that we can get out of here and you guys can, have your lives back.
Yeah,
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
I certainly agree, especially given that they're frequently the most innocent victims within all this because they're the non-militarized forces within the region, even with the rebel groups. So when you're trying to actually rebuild a civilian society, you have to start with the people who are already trying to fight specifically for that, not just for power. And so I wanted to get to one more question before we wrap up with our 3-on-3 questions. One of the big things that Marianne frequently focuses on is this kind of festering cultural elements that are at the core of our problems. So I wanted to ask each of you, what do you think is the core issue that is really preventing us from having these women's voices and issues being properly represented? What is really holding back women in your mind currently from having these concerns actually addressed? Kim, do you have any thoughts on that?
What do I think is holding back the women's voice?
Yeah, get into your Marianne crystal, see that orb of truth, and really, what's that core that's really holding back this women's empowerment?
Men. No, I'm just kidding.
That's part of it, right?
Actually, men, they do dominate the political realm, and they have for a long time. So, women have been infiltrating the past 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, they're not taken as seriously by even women. I think just time with more women in power, and the positive results will foster more women in power. I think there is a shift happening. There's a lot of bias against women when it comes to being in power. And I just want to be part of that shift, that cultural shift. And the first thing that will make that possible is me believing that it is possible. Plenty of other countries have women prime ministers. They're doing just great in power. This is the one country. We're such a young country. We're a very young country compared to other cultures in this world. So this election cycle is hinging on, are the people ready to open their hearts to a woman leader? During the last election cycle in 2016, such a huge information warfare assault on this woman candidate. Did she deserve some of it? Yeah, maybe, because she is part of that system. I don't think she was the best female candidate, but they were attacking the fact that she is a woman, and they were making her an angry woman. And you know what I mean? Like trying to pull out those archetypes of the worst sides of the woman's experience. But while like when a man's angry, that's power, that's leadership. You know what I mean? So that cultural shift needs to happen where when a woman is angry, that's not scary. That is passion, and that is how things change and how things get done. But it doesn't have to come from a place of fear. You can be angry, but still be coming from a place of love. And that's the cultural shift I think that needs to happen, because that the male archetype is complement to the women, but the woman has been shut out for so long that now this voice is coming out and everybody's like, oh, should we be scared of this woman? You know, and no, because in turn we're denying our own femininity, you know, and this is the time, like it's so exciting right now to have Marianne as a candidate, because she is, she can be gruff, she can be stern and angry, but she's not going to be like threatening to, you know, keep aid from a country, or, you know what I mean? Like she's not going to manipulate other people with that anger. She is going to be putting the people first and not the corporations, you know, calling up the truth that is lacking. Yeah. Whether, you know, I mean, can I say, would I be as excited about Marianne if she was like Martin? You know, like if it was a man saying all of these things that Marianne's saying, yes. I don't think that her issues are exclusive to women, to a woman candidate. I think if she was a man speaking all of this, I would feel just as passionate. I would just be like, oh, it'd be so great if she was a woman, just because we need that power.
That's great, Kim.
Yeah, no, so I'm curious, Mary, do you kind of echo similar sentiments that first it's really believing in women in terms of their capability? Both first women believing in themselves to take that shot of actually trying to lead, as well as secondly that when we are seeing the same behavior that we're viewing it in a similar light of how we would view a man. Is that what the core issue that's holding this back currently?
Well, I think when you look back in Marianne's career, her whole thing is about empowerment, and especially empowering of women. I don't know if you've heard, but she launched Sister Giant, which was a huge movement starting in 2010, exactly to put women into political, you know, seats and power. And to me, it all comes down to, you said, what's the number one issue? And it all comes down to me into the undue influence of money in politics, because corporations are the ones that are dictating policy nowadays. And when you have women, and not just women, regular people engaged into citizenship, which is that's what's happened. We have disengaged entirely. You know, we've left government to operate on its own in the hopes that they're doing what's right. And we all know where that went. So it's time for us, the people, like it was supposed to be since the beginning, as per democracy, for us to be engaged and doing our job. So I think that once we say that, you know, it's up to us and we believe that we can do it, because we can, we have the numbers. It's just that, you know, the whole system has, it's impossible. You know, you can't do it. She's a long shot. Every time I hear that Marianne is a long shot, it's like echoing that I'm a long shot because I want to vote for her. So I don't stand a chance. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's all psychological. It's that emotional thing that we've been talking about throughout this conversation. that once people are engaged, then women will naturally participate because women are part of society just like men are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I certainly understand you. Once we actually have a functional system, people want to be engaged with it because they actually feel like they're being listened to. I don't think anyone wants to be in a conversation where they don't feel listened to, and I think politics is
Some people just
likewise.
shut off. They're like,
Yeah.
what am I going to
Yeah.
waste my time
And
here?
especially when it becomes an even exacerbated problem by a negative conversation too, being told, no, you
Exactly.
can't do that. You have to be realistic. We can't really transform, as we've said. So I'm curious, Lori, are you on this similar side that it's really inherently, we're not incentivized to really have these voices be heard and believed? Is that really what at our core right now of holding back these issues that we've been talking about today?
I agree. I think it's like fear. It's basically fear, and that's just the basic emotion, and it shows itself in many ways, and it can come from, like I said, lack of confidence, or people saying things like it's a long shot. We're not gonna, you're not gonna have a chance. She's not gonna get in the pool. Just there's a lack. This. It's a manipulation. It's a game playing thing of how people work on different psyches. I mean, if you study about things, if you attack someone's psyche and you get them to like think that they're not, something, put a little bit of doubt in there, then hey, you might have you had the ability to do it, but because that came in there, you lost it. So I think it comes fear. It's fear. Men have it, women have it. I mean, the human race has fear. We're worried about other people getting one over on us, or getting better than us, or attack. This mindset of it's just the whole mind. It's a shift. Like Kim was saying. I'm so, I don't know. I just can't wait for this shift to begin. And I think there is this the fear mind base is what's holding everything back.
Yeah, no, I really relate to that because I think this whole fear element, as you were kind of get to, and getting one over on each other, there might be some within other men where they think if we have more women in power, we're losing our power, and what's that eventually going to do to us? And I think that really stems from just fear that we don't trust one another to work for our mutual benefit. So I think that's a really strong point that we also have to just combat the personality and ethos of America, which is so much fear-based through our whole history. With that being said, I want to go to our final segment of questions. I call it the 3-on-3. Essentially what it is, I'm going to give you 3 choices of policies, and I'm going to tell you to pick your highest priority or none of the above. Does that sound good? Any questions on that? No? Okay.
Sounds good.
Great. So here's your first batch of choices. So the first option is universal 24/7, 365 days a year childcare. The second is free public transportation. And the last is incentivizing states to provide free public internet. So which of those would you have as your number one priority? I'll start first this time with Mary. What do you think on that, Mary? Which of those is your first choice? We'll go back around again to give the reason why.
This is difficult.
Yeah.
Who would be providing this childcare?
It would be a public option by your state governments. They would be having the facilities in your local areas.
I'm going to have to go with the internet first, because I think people need to be informed and have tools so that they can exercise their citizenship.
Okay. How about you, Lori? Which of those 3 would you pick? The universal child care, the free public transportation, or the free internet?
I know that's really. I mean, they're all tools to better yourself, to empower yourself. I don't know. I'd probably go with the child care. I'm probably going to go with the child care just because that is a big deal when you're like struggling to try to do work and you're worried about paying for it. And I remember having 2 small children, and we paid outrageous amount of child care. But I mean, and it held us back, in a lot of different things. But I don't know. It depends on who you entrust your children with. Internet's certainly important, and so is transportation. But I'm going to go with the children. And if the children are watching, mothers can get out there and work. More people can get out there and work. Mothers that maybe not would have been able to before because they don't have no one to watch their children. So I go with the child care.
Okay. How about you, Kim? What do you think? Do we have to go with the childcare? Do we go with the free public transportation, or do we go with the internet?
Well, my first choice would be the childcare. Of course, I mean, of course, would have to be quality and, lots of vetting I'm not trying to say that people shouldn't spend time with their kids and like push them off to other places, which, that could get kind of murky. But just to keep it short, I'll say number one, childcare.
Okay. So now I just want to give you all a chance to maybe go a little bit deeper why you had picked that choice. So, Mary, you had been the only one to choose the internet. Why did you think internet was the more preferable choice? I'm sensing a lot of I would love all three, but why was that the higher priority?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people are um, excluded from the conversation. And I feel that this is the gift and the curse of the internet, right? Of giving everybody that voice. But I think that the good outweighs the bad. And I think to have information at our fingertips like we do today, I mean, we certainly didn't have that 15 years ago. I was, looking up encyclopedias and everything. So I feel that it's so important to connect. I think that a lot of Americans are so patriotic that they only look at themselves and they don't look to other cultures and other countries, that there are other ways. And I feel that the internet bridges this gap and will bring us forward, so much if everybody had access to it.
No, I certainly can
Sorry,
understand
guys, my
that
kids
exposure point. See, this might be one of our best arguments for universal childcare right now. But I kid. So I'd be curious, how would you guys want to expand on that choice? Do you think universal childcare is the bigger option that we need to be doing here? So, Kim, what did you think? You had kind of wanted to keep it brief beforehand. You had said childcare. What made you choose that one as your top priority?
Because I think that parents are sort of left on their own when it comes to raising a child. And I think along with childcare, there could be, family coaching. And I think, some education could go hand in hand with that. And that could be a good way to strengthen families because, a 20-year-old couple has a kid and it doesn't come with a handbook.
Yeah.
There's a lot of abuse that can happen, but they don't want to be abusive, but they just don't have the tools. So I feel like along with the with the childcare, there could be a lot of parental education that could go hand in hand with that. And that could only benefit families. And then you have single mothers. How are they supposed to survive? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And let's have family support. Like my mom was a single mother, upstairs for my grandmother. So I had built-in childcare. Thank God she had retired at that point. Otherwise, but we still were, free-range kids. Like there's a lot of guidance there. But anyway, education along with that stipulation, like some sort of parental guidance.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense, especially when, as the kids are being developed, you're also being developed as a parent for the first time. There is no manual to this, so a lot of that education is really foreign to you, especially if, like, you didn't have the best development yourself growing up. Maybe you don't have all these tips that are being passed along from your parents as well. So I think that makes a lot of sense. With that being said, now I feel more comfortable to go into this next set of questions now that the children have departed. There's a question now on decriminalizing things. And I wanted to get all of your opinions on which of these should be, if at all, decriminalized. So the first is all drugs and then legalizing marijuana. The second is prostitution, and the third is gambling. Should any of those be legalized? Which would be the highest priority in your mind? I'll start with Lori on this.
I'm not taking from you. Give me.
With me?
Let me grab it.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's okay.
I'm in the last few questions.
I'm leaving.
That's
We're gonna
okay.
have the one.
Maybe you could go in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Sorry.
go in the bath.
I timed it for 2:30. So now my
Yeah.
husband is here, but he has to go back to work.
Oh,
Okay.
well then.
Okay, so did you want to start with me? Did you say?
Yeah, that'd be great. If so, which of those three? I'll remind you again. Should we be looking to decriminalize or legalize drugs, and then legalizing marijuana, legalizing prostitution, or legalizing gambling, if any?
That is such a tough question.
Mm.
You said decriminalizing all drugs and then legalizing marijuana.
Correct. And then prostitution and gambling were the others.
I mean, the drug thing, the other drugs, the harder drugs need to still be criminalized. And then marijuana, I think it should be legalized. That's how my stance of it is. But as far as prostitution, if you decriminalize prostitution, and try to get some women some help there and try to get them off the street. And then as far as gambling, that's so destructive to people. But I'd have to go, the least one would have to be gambling, I would say.
Okay. How about you, Kim? Which of those three do you think should be prioritized, if any of the above?
Definitely the decriminalization of drugs and legalizing marijuana. I think that's a big problem with mass incarceration. They're going to jail instead of getting the help they need.
Oh,
So that's a big one. I think I support in Amsterdam and Holland. They are starting to give out needles to junkies, and in Europe they're so much more evolved as a culture, and they're starting it out here in California, where they're having safe shoot up zones, basically, where they are using clean needles, and then there's access to support and help. So I think criminalizing drug addicts is the wrong way to go for our society. I think it's a conundrum there too, because of big pharma, and none of those drugs are criminalized. I mean, maybe if they're used off label or found on the street, but they're still being produced by big companies. So it's like, well, back to the main question. Number one is my choice.
Okay, certainly understandable, and I think a lot of those points make sense when you say this is really a health issue. These people aren't actually causing necessarily harm to others. Why should we be treating them like criminals? Mary, where do you fall between those three? Would you agree that the drugs are the highest priority, or would you go prostitution or gambling?
Yeah, I would definitely go with the drugs, because I think that's the biggest problem that we have right now. So we definitely have to go back to a restorative justice instead of a punitive
Punitive
justice.
process. Yeah, that certainly makes sense.
And the point that Marianne always asks: why are so many people using drugs?
Yeah.
Why are we so dysfunctional? Why are we so unhappy?
It goes back to
once we stop with the punishment, then we start looking for the real solutions, I think.
Yeah, that certainly makes sense.
I just want to say I back that up totally. I totally back that up. That's very good points from both of you guys. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I certainly think that's part of the reason why we have these types of conversations, is you get exposed to these reasons that we all share for why these policies unite us forward. And I think a lot of these subjects at first glance say, oh, I don't know about that. That's a little scary. It's a little risky maybe. But I think when we start to say, these are the fundamental core issues. These aren't criminals. These are just people in need that are suffering, and they're trying to just cope in a bad method. So we got to help them out there. So I certainly agree with all three of you that would probably be the highest priority. So I'll go into my final question now of the 3-on-3. The first choice is, would you like to have a federal jobs guarantee that would pay $37,000 in total compensation? Would you rather have a universal basic income of $1,000 a month? Or would you rather have a maximum compensation ratio of 100-to-1 that all businesses in America need to follow? So I'll start again, this time with Lori. Which of those three do you think is the highest priority?
Oh, gosh. I'm gonna say I want to keep this. I don't want to keep this. I want to keep this quick. I'm gonna say the biggest priority. Repeat the first one again so I have it correctly.
Sure. It's a federal jobs guarantee where the job should
37
pay $37,000 in total compensation.
$1,000 a month. I would probably have to go with the $37,000. The
Right.
first one, I would say, the federal job. If you're a regular citizen and you're trying to stabilize your life and things like that, I would just probably go with that right now.
Okay. How about you, Kim? Which of those three do you think would be the highest priority? The federal guaranteed job with 37K as salary? Or would you have universal basic income of $1,000 every month? Or would you rather have a maximum compensation ratio of 100 to 1 for all businesses to follow?
I don't understand the third one.
Sure.
That
So
concept.
so it's basically if you have your highest paid CEO and you have your lowest paid, let's say, janitor, the ratio between them cannot exceed 100.
I like that.
Oh,
I like that. Universal income. I'm interested in that. I have not completely studied it. I think that could be a good thing. But what you just said, number 3, that sounds amazing. That sounds
I
great.
would chime in. That does sound amazing. That sounds amazing.
I have to say,
Sorry, can
sometimes.
you repeat the third one? Because
Yeah.
I was.
No worries,
Yeah.
Mary. Let's help you out there. So the 3 choices now, 2 of them having selected the maximum compensation ratio of 100 to 1. Basically, your highest paid CEO cannot exceed 100 of what the lowest paid worker at the company can be at. The second being a universal basic income where every month you'll receive $1,000 every month. And the third being a federally guaranteed job paying $37,000 in total compensation.
Yeah, I would go with the UBI
Okay.
out of those. I think that would infuse more money to everybody in the end. I think to have that discretionary spending money.
Yeah, I think they're all very interesting options. I tend to go with UBI myself as well because it helps us separate from this work model where essentially universal basic income helps us recognize the value of things that aren't being considered work now, like being a mother, which clearly is a lot of hard work as we're seeing kids come on camera. So I have to agree. I think that is one of the ways we can really help redefine what contributing and giving value to society is. With that being said, I want to thank you all so much for coming on today to discuss this very important topic. It was lovely to speak with you all and get a new voice, as a lot of the fans out there haven't really heard from Marianne supporters previously. So I wanted to give you all one final opportunity to let the Rosebuds out there know what you personally have going on or things that they should go check out. So Kim, is there anything you'd like to let the Rosebuds out there know?
Well, thank you, Jonathan, for having us on the show. Let's see, I guess just give Marianne a chance. Please just go on YouTube, watch her videos, read her policy on the website, and give her a chance because a lot of people have not heard her speak past the debates. And she is really, like you said, not offering Band-Aids. She is offering a huge impact to our daily lives, to being an American, to engage in this democracy that, like a marriage, everybody needs to put the time and effort in so that it doesn't go away. So that is, I guess, my final message. And thank you to my beautiful counterparts here on this interview. And thank you to anybody watching this interview.
Well, we're very glad we could have you on, Kim.
Thank you.
So, Mary, is there anything that you wanted to share? Again, thank you so much for being on. I can clearly see you were busy today, so thank you for making the time.
Yes. No, so first, again, thank you so much for the opportunity. And I think that this is what it's all about. What I would like to tell, your viewers is to not let anyone dictate democracy to you. It's not about Marianne or Yang or Bernie, whoever. I think it's about everyone getting their voice heard, everyone voting their values and not outsourcing their vote to whoever is more popular or whoever has the most money. I think that we should vote, our values, and everybody should have a say in the matter. I mean, to me, it's about democracy. I think that democracy is at a serious risk right now. And I think that we need all hands on deck. The more candidates, the better. More people are getting engaged, more people are getting involved. That in the end, we're going to find that common ground that we're all going to go, head in. So don't try to, shorten or limit the path. Let's widen it. Let's open it.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree with you there. And I think that goes back to something you were saying earlier, in that one person succeeding a little bit doesn't mean tearing down the other. We as progressive people can really help unify each other and bolster each other's voices, because, as we were all saying, Trump is advocating that one person alone can solve it. We realize that it's we the people that are going to be the ones ending up solving this. Yeah, so exactly. I certainly appreciate that voice. And again, thank you for coming on, Mary. Lori, is there anything that you wanted to share with the Rosebuds before we wrap up today?
Sure. And again, I'm so grateful for being on here. Thank you, guys. I'm glad someone didn't show up. I'm glad I was able to fill in. I was worried at first. I had medicine on my face, but hey, for Marianne, I'll do anything. But Jonathan, you just said something very powerful, and all of you guys have said very powerful things. And all I want to say is, give her a chance. Listen to Marianne. Listen to what she's saying. Her heart is with everyone. She's not against any person. She's for all. It's for we the people, okay? We the people, the best. She has our best interest at heart. She's come for a reason. Again, I would say, when people say, look at your orb and look in that crystal ball, I'm like, what the heck are they talking about? I don't do any of that stuff. And so, I burn sage and I burn some incense and I, and stuff like that. I don't, so what I'm trying to say is, she is a very intellectual, very intelligent woman who knows a lot of things. She's been through things, she's seen suffering, she's seen joy, she's for the people. So just please give her a chance and listen to her and know she's coming from a sane place of it's pure love. So thank you, Jonathan, for having us on here. Thank you. And thank you, Mary. Thank you, Cam.
Yeah, you're very welcome, and as evidenced by her supporters, it's clear that she is a serious person, intelligent ideas that brings these types of people together for these types of conversations. With that being said, I just want to give a couple few plugs for our channel here at the Hill of Roses. I want you all to be looking out. We're going to be making some really big announcements soon in the coming months. We're going to be kicking off some initiatives here for the state of New Jersey as we're trying to take these actions of democracy firsthand and launch some new things. And with that being said, we also are trying to do some fundraising now. We love talking to our Marianne Williamson guests here, but I'm still an Andrew Yang supporter, and so one of the things we're still trying to do is fundraise money like all of these lovely ladies are as well. So also check out those links. We'll be having both links to contribute to both Marianne Williamson as well as to Andrew Yang. So I do hope that you guys follow that and give to the candidates that you enjoy. With that being said, Rosebuds, thank you for tuning in this week, and until next time, stay rosy.